What does the Quran say about interacting with people of other faiths?
Well, contrary to common misconception, especially in the media, we find that the Quran is often misquoted on relationships between Muslims and non-Muslims, because they are often quoting certain verses out of context. But if we look at the Quran in wholesomeness, we find that the Quran is always inviting us to be approachable, to accept others the way they are. In fact, there is reference in the Quran to the extent where the Quran calls on its followers to give credit where credit is due, even if it comes from a non-Muslim, and to recognize that goodness. For example, in the Quran, God says, it is not befitting for a Muslim not to recognize the good of others, in one verse. In another verse, God says He does not stop you from being kind and generous towards those who don't fight you in terms of your belief system or don't cause you to leave your homelands. Rather, it is part of piety and God consciousness to extend a helping hand and a hand of appreciation to them. So if we look at the Quran in its general principle and how it talks about human relationship, it is actually a book that calls for encompassment of one another, acceptance of one another, and to interact with one another at all levels, as long as that interaction is a positive one and one that leads to the benefit of all humanity. So what stops a Muslim, for example, in reaching out to a Christian or a Jew or a Magian or a Hindu or any denomination, if the cause of that reaching out is to make us richer, to make us better human being, for the betterment and the development of the human race? And that leads me to one of the statements of the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet, who learned from the Prophet himself directly all the sciences and knowledge that he later on expounded to us as Muslims to understand, where he says to one of his governors, when he sent him to rule over Egypt, he said to him, people are of two kinds, and you cannot get a statement which is more profound than this statement, where he says, when you want to deal with people, people are of two kinds, either your brothers in faith or they are your equal in humanity. So if they are your equal in humanity, why should there be any cause for discrimination or anything of the sort when we interact with one another? It is nothing but a call for cooperation, understanding and respect in as far as other humans are concerned.